What's going on, everyone? Louis back for another album reaction and review. Thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you're having a great day. Today, we're going to be listening to the third Radiohead album in a row, and that is In Rainbows. So, the intention on the channel was not to listen to multiple albums from the same artist back to back to back now. But from the poll that we did for hitting 500 subscribers, it sounded like everyone wanted to continue going down the Radiohead rabbit hole. So first off, I just want to say thank y'all so much for all of the support the past couple weeks. This was always intended to be a personal project for myself to dive into music that I have not listened to and to expand my musical library in a fun way for myself. But I'm so glad that everyone is starting to join in on this experience and share their own experiences with these bands. So I really appreciate y'all sticking around, and we're just going to keep moving on with all the other music that we have in store. So I want to get into a little bit of housekeeping about the channel before we move into the review. We're just going to talk about where the channel is going to go, what directions I want to take it. If you're just here for the reaction, a time code is in the description below. But otherwise, number one, I know we have a lot of requests for different music that we have not quite yet gotten to. And trust me, I've seen all of the different requests that y'all have sent in, and I really appreciate all of it. I have it saved in my Spotify. As we're going through these albums that I do already have lined up, the list of music that is being requested is getting bigger and bigger. So, my normal schedule is trying to get at least 2 to 3 albums per week. That's kind of my schedule right now that I want to stick to. But at that rate, there's so much music that is being requested, I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to get to all of it. So I really want to explore different ideas of how we can incorporate people's suggestions into the channel. I really want to do kind of like a community video, just kind of looking at different people's requests and making it into a video of maybe multiple different songs and different genres that are being requested. If y'all have any ideas of how maybe we can tackle that in the future in a video, then please let me know down in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Number two, outside of doing just full-length albums, I also want to do what I would consider maybe artist showcases. And by that I mean, there's a lot of artists that I still really would like to listen to, but I'm not sure if they have enough material on one album to quite do a solid quality review of. They may have many singles or many hits, but they may not have a full quality album. So I would really like to do a showcase of artists based off of maybe their top 5 or 10 hits. I think that would be a really interesting way to explore new artists without having to dive fully into just one particular album. And then number 3, something that I really want to do in the channel in the future is I would really like to give some advice or tips to different musicians that are trying to find their niche in the scene, maybe get some pointers across that maybe some people, they're in a slump musically, and I would like to give some sort of advice from my own personal experiences on how maybe we can address those things and maybe get you back into the scene with a more positive outlook, and that way you can be more successful as a musician moving forward. So if any of those ideas sound like something you would like to see on the channel, your feedback would be very much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we're going to get into the album review right now. Listening to Radiohead this week has been such a complete out-of-body experience, and I mean that with all seriousness. Both these albums have so many unique and complex musical concepts that are going across. Lyrically, they are just all on point. Every single track is unique. But to me, I felt like while OK Computer was more grounded, Kid A felt very otherworldly and cosmic. But both of them were 100% human. And I really enjoyed that. It felt very unique. It felt very personable. Even though those experiences are so personal and unique to Tom and the rest of the band, I felt like I could empathize with whatever they were going through. And I'm so excited to get into In Rainbows now because I don't know what direction we're going to wind up going. So we're just going to get right into it. In Rainbows came out in 2007. It is made up of 10 songs, and it is 42 minutes long. So the album is relatively short in terms of the amount of tracks that we have, but we're going to start out with the first track, which is 15 Step. Let's see what we got. It's not the direction I was expecting it to go. Very percussive. Sounds like they're in an alleyway playing like pots and pans. I really like what the guitar is doing right now. Wow. I'm getting like island vibes from the guitar. Feels like Latin also. The bass is coming in really well. Felt like I was getting Santana flares in there. That ride was a really good choice. I love how dark it was. This little kid screaming. Ooh, the way that's echoing is nice. Ooh, that is a tough rhythm to keep without anything else to go off of. Without the cymbals, yeah. I wonder how they're doing that effect. It's like shuffling cards. Bit of record scratching or maybe some breathing. Whoa. What a amazing opening track. I mean, I had a couple people tell me that wait until you hear this album for the drums, and that one just hooked me instantly. So the song was in 5/4, meaning they continue to use those odd time signatures, but they're able to craft the song in such a way that still maintains easy listening for a wide audience. You don't necessarily see a lot of odd time signatures on the radio. I think it's mainly because it's just easier listening to hear a 4/4 or a 3/4 pattern in mainstream music. But this one was just so full of life. It was so full of energy. This is another one of those examples where it feels like a live session. It doesn't feel like a studio album. And I really liked a lot of those, I'm going to say Latin flares that I was getting across the drums and going into that middle section. Felt very groovy and leaning forward but still laid back. Had a really good balance between those two. And that's just talking musically, right? I haven't even mentioned any of the lyrics or Tom's approach, right? He is doing so much creatively with his pacing in this one, and it's still finding its place in this odd time signature. He's so good at that. What a great start to an album. So the next song is track number 2, which is Bodysnatchers. Let's see what we got. Okay.
What it is, I don't know. Won't forget to
I like that guitar riff. And the bass and the drums just driving this whole thing. This feels very much like the Strokes. I'm pretty sure the Strokes were influenced by this. Oh shit, he's calling someone a puppet. Getting a little break with this instrumental breakdown. Kind of opens up the track. You know, I think it sounds like a sample for the drums, but I think that's just how in the pocket this drummer actually is, which feels, again, more like the Strokes. I'm going to be honest, I actually totally forgot we were doing this review because I was so lost in that song. Yeah, this was really something. This feels like well, shit. I mean, this is 2007. So the Strokes would have already come out with First Impressions of Earth, which this felt very akin to. So, well, when did that come out? When did First Impressions of Earth come out? Now I'm curious. First Impressions of Earth. First Impressions of Earth came out in 2005. Because of how long Radiohead was in the game, I don't know who really influenced who. And that song felt very close to what was going on in that album from the Strokes. They started turning things a little bit heavier, a little more distorted, a little more energy, which this song had a lot of that. And there was a lot of dark elements in the lyrics as well. I mean, from the title of the song, Bodysnatchers, it's of course a reference to the concept of people who are being replaced by near perfect copies of themselves. You can see that across a lot of these lyrics, and I still love his choice of words for getting his point across. A couple highlights for me are, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm trapped in this body and can't get out. I have no idea what you're talking about. Your mouth moves only with someone's hand up your ass. Has the light gone out for you? Because the light's gone out for me. It can follow you like a dog. It brought me to my knees. Yeah, there's some really cool things happening lyrically. And I like the approach to repeat some of these lines. I do like Tom's approach to repeat most of these lines in this song. Gets the point across. And to me, it's always catchy and fun to sing along to. So another excellent track. And I think that's going to be a favorite of mine right off the bat. The next song is Nude. Track number 3, Nude. Very distant. Three, 4. Violins. I love how soft the drum pattern is right now, but it's still distinct. I wonder if those vocal tracks is Tom. That's a good bass line. the delay to bring the guitar into the song. The guitar's chord progression. I think it just changed up right here. Yeah. You found it, it's gone. Really good time to bring the snare in for the drums. These are the last lines of the song, and it adds so much weight to its delivery. Such an interesting approach to swing. Man, this would have been so awesome to hear live. The synth swelling right here at the very end. That one was excellent. Just looking at those lyrics, balance that I've talked about in other reviews is so apparent in that particular song because it's talking about some heavy concepts of basically losing your sanity, and it's still set in such a controlled, contained rhythm underneath it, even with Tom's approach on the vocals. Tom's choice of using those falsettos while delivering this message of losing control and going insane, at least how I interpret it, is why a song like that is so well received, because for the listeners who are actually going through those things, they don't want to be too overstimulated, and they need to find ways to cope with those thoughts and emotions. So something like this, where it still gets the point across, they have something tangible to connect to for their own emotions in the real world, but also to maintain that groundedness from the music itself. It helps center ourselves, and it helps us find peace and contentment within ourselves. I think it's something that maybe not a lot of people realize. Maybe subconsciously they do, but that's probably why certain songs, even though they're so heavy, we gravitate towards those ones the most. So the next song is track number 4, Weird Fish's Arpeggi. The lightness from the guitar is not something you would expect with this type of upbeat drum pattern. I mean, the drum pattern sounds like something from the Powerpuff Girls theme. And the guitars having this little dance between each other is very complex. You can do multiple listens just trying to figure out what they are doing individually. Feels like a beach song. Like you're on vacation.
I'd be crazy not to fall. They tell me
I liked that delivery. Ooh, those keys going on right there? How that chaos just broke up right there, and now it's just like you're floating on the water. like how the bass is coming back in. That guitar's doing an interesting pattern. It's like a beacon or a signal. Man, that's some great imagery. So in the first part he says, I'll hit the bottom, like he is anticipating it. I will hit the bottom. And this part he says, I hit the bottom, so he is already there. Yeah. Drumming wise, this album is doing it for me on all levels. This just seems like such an amazing album to just play on repeat, front to back, and just sit in the pocket and play. I feel like I could play that rhythm for hours upon hours, just sitting there in that little groove. This song also feels like another drifting into insanity for me. That first opening lines where he says, in the deepest ocean, the bottom of the sea, your eyes, they turn me. So, of course, there's a lot of imagery of being out in the deep water. And go into, I'd be crazy not to follow where you lead, your eyes, they turn me. So, kind of same thing, you're blinded by love. You're going out and following them like a puppy dog. And then turn me into phantoms. I follow to the edge of the earth and fall off. So basically, you're taking that leap of faith. You jump in, and it says, yeah, everybody leaves if they get the chance, and this is my chance. So the way I'm interpreting that line is everybody leaves if they get the chance. So those people that you put your trust into, whether it's love or friendships, relationships, whatever the case, people have different backgrounds. They come from different backgrounds and they don't have the same mindset as you. So they may leave you hanging if they get the chance. And then he says, and this is my chance. So he's saying this is my chance to leave, but his version of leaving is different than the very direct way everyone else is leaving. I think he's talking about death. And so then he says, I get eaten by worms and weird fishes. I think that's metaphorical. And then finally you get to the bottom where he's like, yeah, I'll hit the bottom and escape. I think he's talking about escaping life. And then finally he says, I hit the bottom and escape. So he's found his escape in the context of this song. That's my interpretation of how the song goes. And I really enjoy the rhythms that were going on in there. I think the rhythm section was really shining. I love that little dance that was going on between the guitars. There was that, what sounded like it could have been keys, it could have been synths, and it could have even also been just the guitar mimicking synths or the keys. And then the way the music was falling out underneath, it sounded very chaotic, and then it just swept away. And it sounded like you were just drifting out into the water. So there was a lot of very powerful imagery going on in that song. I think musically this is just going right up my alley with what I usually listen to, but it is done in such a way that is refreshing for me as a musician. So now we have track number 5, which is All I Need. Very round sound. It sounds like you are in the ocean, actually. Giving me Gorillaz vibes. Like Plastic Beach.
I'm an animal trapped in your car.
The drums are a little broken up. That's a really good musical choice. You don't really hear that a lot. Most people keep it straight. That droning of what I guess is the bass or some sort of effect. That's unique for sure, and I really like it. I like what it's doing for the rhythm. It's filling in that dead space of the song, and these little chimes or the glockenspiel. It's such a great contrast between those two, and they're both mimicking the same pattern. I love how those keys just came in. Oh yeah. God, this makes it so much more epic. Whoa. Whoa. That was a great build to such an epic ending. One of the lines that really stuck out to me out of that was, "I am a moth who just wants to share your light." I love that imagery, and it's something that a lot of people can just immediately catch very quick because they know the interactions between a moth and a light. The way he was chanting the "it's all wrong" and then he repeated "it's all right" 3 times. I wonder if there's some significance to that. The fact that he only said "it's all wrong" once and then followed up with 3 rights. I was kind of thinking like 2 wrongs don't make a right. Maybe there's a connection there. This album is jam-packed. I truly, I don't even know what my favorite is off of these first 5 songs. They're all just so strong. As a drummer, this is just my bread and butter. We have track number 6 now, which is Faust Arp. Okay, acoustic. Watch me fall like dominoes in pretty patterns, fingers in the what you ought to, reasonable, sensible, different makeup. I love that they took this turn musically, kind of breaks up the album with what has already been so energetic and chaotic. Kind of open it up here, give us a little break. What you feel now, what you ought to, then I think that there's no real reason. The blend of the acoustic with these orchestral tracks really brought that song together. That song is probably the most left field that I think I've heard from the band so far. I think rhythmically there was a lot of unique pacings going on. I was kind of struggling finding exactly what the time signature was, but I was still following it. I was understanding what he was doing, even though I didn't quite get the meter down. I really liked what Tom was doing musically with the lyrics, and this one was probably the most I was on my toes trying to follow what was going on with the words. So now we have track number 7, which is Reckoner. Very jazzy. Very heavy tambourine. It's like he's hitting it on the concrete. But I love how soft the guitar is underneath those very aggressive drums. But even the snare is really soft too, though. So what I'm understanding with this is the vocals with the falsettos, the bass, and the guitar are very soft. Now the keys are coming in. Everything is incredibly soft. and the tambourine and the ride were so aggressively high across everything. The tambourine and the ride were so aggressive throughout the beginning, but when the keys came in, they finally came back into the pocket with everybody else. That's an insane musical idea. And everything just falls out. The humming, the keys. Okay, how are we going to go back into that rhythm? Are we going to be very aggressive, or are we going to be back in the pocket? Everything's swelling. I like this. Strings. So many musical layers to this. The way the strings are just sweeping across the track. This would be another amazing song to hear live. Of course, it seemed like the last things that you would hear as everything was fading out would be that tambourine and the ride of the drum set. So that's kind of how it started at the beginning, so it makes sense to end with that at the end. What an interesting musical idea to have such heavy sections of the percussion, but then at the same time having very light sections of the same percussion. I don't think it's a necessarily easy skill to have that type of control on the drum set, you know, to be hitting the ride, or let's just say the tambourine player, to be hitting those instruments so heavily while still maintaining a lightness on everything else with your open hand. That's a very technical approach. And in fact, that's so innovative as well. I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head that would even attempt something like that. And I really liked how it finally came back into the mix about the halfway point of the song when the keys came in. With that being said, I want to just highlight the drummer across these past three albums. They've done so much musically as a whole, but man, this drummer is on the money with everything that he's been doing. From OK Computer, he was doing a lot of different drum patterns, very distinct, very groovy in a lot of situations. And then in Kid A, I think for the most part it was electronic drums, but then you had like that one grunge song we listened to, a couple of other ones. He was doing some unique things that we didn't hear from OK Computer. And then this one, I think this is the most diverse that we've heard of his vocabulary. Lots of different artistic styles, lots of different genre bendings. He is nailing his place in each of these songs. It just works so well. We have 3 songs left. You want to talk about In Rainbows? Every single one of these songs is just its own rainbow of colors that it is showcasing. The amount of musicianship that is coming across each of these tracks. What's crazy right now is this is the first time that I am looking through this album and I can't even tell you which one is my favorite. I can't even recall what happened in each of these songs, but I know I loved it. So it's just one of those albums that I'm just going to have to lose myself into over and over and over again. And I'm probably going to be listening to it front to back over and over again. There's no other way to put it. So we're going to go to the next one, which is track number 8, House of Cards. mixing on that bass, so low. And you know what? With the bass and then this echoing in the back, it feels like you're in a cave. Yeah, the guitar is giving me a lot of nostalgic flashes. I think the bass is starting to come back down into the mix. Wonder if it's been doing that the entire time. It's been progressively falling into the mix. The bass sounds like it's getting heavier again, the bass drum. Like out of sight, out of mind. I feel like I can get lost in this song, just how constant the bass and the drums have been. I don't think the guitar changed much either. I know a lot of people have commented on my visualization while I'm doing these album reviews and how I'm describing certain things that are going on in the song. And I try to do as best I can to draw some sort of picture. This one kind of felt like I was in a cave because of the way the bass was booming and then the echoing in his voice. But a lot of that kind of has to do with the way the mix is coming through the headphones, the way it's just sectionalized in different parts, whether it's on the left side or the right side of the headphones. In fact, in the last song, Reckoner, it was really cool how distinct the tambourine was coming out on the left side and the drums were on the right, as well as the little battle between the guitars. One of the guitars was on the left side and the other guitar was on the right side. So if you ever feel like you want to listen to Radiohead for the first time again, I would recommend grabbing some headphones and listening to it that way, because it's a completely different experience, I will tell you right now. That one just seemed like a really easy listening song. I felt like I could just put that on in the background and just let it play. This song was 5.5 minutes, and I could have just kept it rolling. A lot of the Radiohead songs that we've been listening to are really on the longer end, more than 4 minutes long for the most part, and a lot of the times when I'm hearing songs that are that long, I feel like I get antsy, I feel like I get impatient, I want the song to wrap up. But even when they do these instrumental breakdowns, I'm just so lost in the music. I have complete faith in whatever their vision is, to be honest. This album is just so rich in musical inspiration, so rich in their stylistic choices. Let's just keep going. We have track number 9, Jigsaw Falling Into Place. Acoustic again. I already like how this is starting out, so I want to see how it's going to develop. There's a darkness that is coming across with the vocals, those harmonies in the back, and the notes that the guitar is playing. But I think the fact that the drums are playing a more upbeat rhythm keeps it lighthearted. A good riff. I don't know what that effect would be called. It feels very subdued or muffled. Oh, I liked how his voice was layered right there, actually. They were both repeating the same line. Yeah. So he had the higher range and then the lower end. And the vocals were mimicking the pattern that is going on with the guitar. I like the delivery of those last lines. Oh, that was a great end. That one was a lot of fun. I really liked that he started out the song with his lower register in his voice. And as the song was progressing, I think because of where it started out, it felt a little darker, felt a little more gloomy, I guess. And then as the song progressed into the second half, it started feeling a little more lively. So then his voice made that change and went into his higher register to complement the second half of the song. And then I really liked that little breakdown after the second part where the guitar started doing its little solo. And I really liked that last section where I don't know if it was just the rhythmic choices he was making with his vocals, but that one was just really hitting me on those last couple of lines. This album is so insane because I really like, don't get me wrong, I really, really like what we heard in OK Computer, and I really liked what we heard in Kid A. I think all three of these albums are chock full of quality. I don't know how to explain this album. This is just hitting and firing on all cylinders with each one of these tracks. I know we're doing a crash course of this album, and it's very hard for me to necessarily recall any of these songs right off the bat normally, but I just remember enjoying each one of these tracks individually, and I don't think there was a weak spot on it, not even in the slightest. This has so far been a perfect album for me, not even joking. And we have one track left, so fingers crossed. The final track is track number 10, Videotape. I loved how it started already.
When I'm at the pearly gates, this will be on my videotape,
I like how my videotape was mimicking what was going on with the keys. Love the drums cueing where they are. The vocals humming in the background is working so well right now. Just adding a layer of grandeur to this. Wow, they're really staying in this pocket. Kind of feels like that was from the perspective of the videotape. And that reeling off to the side sounds like it could be the videotape. And the cymbals, the hi-hat, along with that, it's very broken up. It's not quite steady. Seemed like it was kind of mimicking the Videotape. That one felt the most grounded out of the entire album, just with the commotion that was going on in the background, and it felt like you were in the room with the protagonist. That one was so transporting for sure. And what a great way to end off the album. I really think that this is perfect. I don't want to over exaggerate, but what this was doing for me as a drummer, as a listener, as an artist, there was so much care put into this in terms of its musical approach, their continuing developing style, and the fact that they are maintaining the consistency by being inconsistent to their sound, so to speak. They're continuing to explore different genres, different techniques. This one had so many unique techniques that we had not heard from OK Computer and Kid A. A lot of orchestral parts, very percussive. The guitars were very constant across the entire album. I think there's a lot of really good hooks across this album. And Tom, of course, delivers as always with his songwriting, with his melodies, and just overall, the falsettos are otherworldly as well. I think as of right now, In Rainbows is my favorite album from Radiohead. I think right after that would probably be OK Computer, followed by Kid A. I think that may change over time between those two, but I think as of right now, In Rainbows is very assuredly at the very top of these three albums. What a great week of music. And with that, we are going to take a well-deserved break from Radiohead, at least new material, because I know I'm going to be listening to these albums probably for the rest of the year on my own time. We will eventually get to the rest of the albums, most likely coming back to the Bends first, but I do want to take some time to finish out the year and listen to some other artists that we have not yet reviewed. The next album that we will be reviewing is going to be To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, because I know that was the runner-up between this album and that one. And it seems like a lot of people want to hear that one as well, so that will be later on this week. Yeah, thanks so much for recommending this album in the comments, and I'm so glad to have finally experienced it. It was an absolute journey across all these albums, but this one just took it to another level. Please leave any of your thoughts about this album, maybe what your favorite track was, in the comments. If y'all have any other recommendations or requests of artists that you would like to see on the channel in the future, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks so much for hanging out, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's day. Thanks.